This conference will now be recorded.
Pooja, you're still there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Yeah, yeah. Sorry, I did not get your question.
Yeah, so I mean to ask that in a software development
Hmm.
means in any of the software, so
Hmm.
agile is just the methodology to work on that, correct?
Yes, yes, that's right.
Okay. Okay.
Oh, sure.
That means to create a software we use agile, right? It's like that, right?
To create a software, we will have this agile mindset and follow agile principles so that
Principles. Okay, got it.
we create a better software faster and
Okay.
as per customer needs.
Okay, I got you. Okay, now I'm clear about it. Yeah.
Okay, sure, sure.
Yeah.
Let me quickly check if others are joining.
Yeah, sure.
Okay. Okay, let's get started. Let me start sharing my screen. Let me know once you're able to see my screen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Okay, great. So yesterday we spoke about this and couple of other things we wanted to discuss on grooming or refining today, right? We covered few other things. Okay. Now, hmm, okay, when does grooming session happen? As per your knowledge, when does grooming session happen?
We didn't go through it.
No, no. I think we discussed briefly. We did not go through it, but remember, I had told you when the grooming session happens, backlog refinement, uh, backlog
Yeah.
refinement or grooming. Yeah.
Grooming.
So
Yeah.
it happens 4 to 5 days
4 to 5
prior to
hours.
prior to yeah. So the grooming session happens 4 to 5 days prior to the sprint. That is before the sprint starts. Now we'll see what happens in that grooming session. Okay. What happens is in that grooming session is something we'll see now. Now you as a business analyst or product owner, you are the main person for this. Even though the scrum master would be scheduling this meeting, you are the main person here and you will be driving this. What you will do here is you will take the fresh young backlog. If you want me to relate it, uh, you will be taking you will be taking this fresh young backlog. Assume this is your backlog. This is a fresh young backlog. Okay, you will
Okay.
you will
Yeah,
be
Parul.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
hey Amy, thanks for joining.
Sorry, I'm late.
No worries, no worries. We're just starting with grooming session. So okay. So what happens in grooming session? We are just starting. So you as a product owner or business analyst, you get the fresh young backlog. That is just this your product backlog to the meeting. You get this to the meeting, which is prioritized. This has to be in prioritized manner. How to prioritize it, I will teach later. But assume now this list is prioritized, saying that registration is the first priority, login is the second priority, reels is the third priority, profile setup is the fourth priority, so on and so forth. This is the priority. Assume. Okay. Now, now what happens is uh, once the product owner gets this freshing backlog to the grooming session, the product owner will pick the top priority item, top priority item, and start grooming the team about it. Meaning, start explaining the requirement to the team about it. Like for example, let's take this. Instead of keeping it blank like registration, what I will do is I'll split just a requirement like this. When a new user comes to Instagram, the user has to
Account.
create username and password. Right now, this is the requirement. You will explain the team. Okay, look, the requirement is to create username and password, and you will tell username should be unique. Username minimum length can be 6, maximum length of 20. It can be alphanumeric, and it cannot be your email address. All those things you will mention. Password, you will say it should have at least one uppercase, one lowercase, one special character, and one number. You will tell that, and again you will say it should be minimum 6 length, maximum of 20. So like that, you will mention all the details. Now, you will explain the team about everything. Now, if the team has any uncertainties, like uh, you know, will the team might ask, okay, will the password expire after any certain duration? So if yes, you can tell that. So such uncertainties the team might ask. Unknowns like can username and passwords be the same? So you clarify all those things. So all such queries come, you answer it. Requirement clarification, you clarify all the queries that the team has. You will elaborate the requirement as much as possible, not just verbally, but on the on the paper also, on the tool also. You elaborate the requirement as much as possible so that everything is covered and the team has all the details. Because if you tell everything verbally and not documented, what happens is we are all humans, we tend to forget, and it won't be documented. That means the developer cannot refer back to anything, and they might be hesitant to reach back to you. So if everything is documented, anytime they can refer to it. So document the requirement and make sure you are elaborating each and every detail now in the requirement. That how to do it, I'll explain you. Maybe next week we'll start the project, right? I'll explain you how to elaborate the requirement in detail so that the the content that you are giving as a product owner is self-sufficient. Okay, so your requirement has to be elaborated and big story to small story. Now in this case itself, create username and password. If the team feels, hey, this is a very big story, it takes a lot of time. If the team wants, and if you also agree, you also feel that is valid, that okay, this is a very big story, big requirement, and it might need more time, it would be easier for two people to do it and close it. Then you can always split this big story to smaller stories. Like create username can be a different story, create password can be a different story. Okay, so big story to small stories, reprioritize. Okay, while you are grooming to the team, based on the discussion, if team feels this is not of priority, there is something else that has to be done before this, then, and if you also agree on that, if everyone agrees and everyone is on the same page, then you will reprioritize the story. Pick up the story that is more important, more important first rather than this particular story. Okay, rather than this particular story. So that is reprioritizing if required. Identify risks. Risks can be anything. Like assume this is front end development work. Front end development work meaning the screen how it should look, right? So, but you don't have an experienced front end developer. That's a risk. You don't have front end developer. That's a risk. So such risks has to be identified. Dependencies. Any dependencies that you have, like assume not this story but a different story. Assume I am doing a login requirement. I told login requirement. Here the dependency is, look, you cannot do login requirement until or unless registration requirement is complete. Because only when the user is registered they can log in, right? Until and unless registration is complete, login cannot be done. So any such dependencies has to be identified. And finally, invest. Has anyone heard of the term invest in business analyst terms? Not invest as a financial invest.
Financial invest.
No. I'm saying, not financial
Yeah,
invest, but
yeah,
business
yeah. I
analyst
got you.
invest. Yeah.
Yeah. No, no idea for that.
Okay. So invest stands for, I'll just put it here, independent, negotiable, valuable, estimable, small. This is invest. So if someone asks you, "Hey, what are the qualities that the requirements or user story should have?" What are the qualities that the user story should have? Then the answer is invest. The user story should be independent, meaning there should not be any dependencies. The user story should be negotiable, meaning you should be able to negotiate with the team. You should be able to, you know, make the team understand and, get an agreement that the team can develop it. That's negotiable. Valuable. Whatever user story that you're developing, it should deliver value. If there is no value, there is no point in delivering it, right? So it should be valuable, estimable. The user story should be estimable, meaning when you explain the team, hey, you know what the requirement is about creating username and password, the team should be able to tell how much time will it take to do this. Is it 5 days, 6 days, 10 days? What is it? The team should be able to estimate based on different parameters. Again, this I'll cover it as a separate topic in detail. But for now, just imagine that the team should be able to estimate in terms of time, like how many days will it take. Okay, it should be estimable. It should be small. Small, why? It should be as small as possible. Why? Because any requirement or user story that you're taking, we should be able to complete in 2 weeks. It should not be like you cannot take the same requirement and work on for 5 weeks or 6 weeks. It should be so small that one team member should be able to complete it within 2 weeks, not more than that. Okay, the smaller, the better. So user story should be as small as possible. And finally, testable, meaning whatever the developer has developed, someone should be able to validate it. Someone should be able to test and say, hey, it's all working fine. It's as per expectation. So it should be testable. So these are the qualities that the user story should have. Any questions?
No.
No, I'm good. Rajiv, I have a question.
Yes, please.
So, business analyst should have all product knowledge to decide the priorities and stuff like how, I mean, unknown product if comes to me and I have to, I have to delegate to the management team or development team, right?
Mhm.
So how we decide the priorities or um, you know what I'm saying, the requirements, how we decide that what things are required.
Okay, because you are the one who will be interacting with the client or customers,
Mm-hmm.
getting to know what is important for them, right?
Okay.
Based on that, you will, prioritize and get it developed from the development team because you act as a bridge between the customer and the development team. Now, based on your discussion with the customer, you know the priority, what customer is looking for.
Okay.
Accordingly, you will prioritize here.
Okay.
Make sense?
Yep.
Okay. Any other questions?
No.
I'm good, Rajiv.
Okay. Fine. So this is all what happens in grooming session. So the team discusses on the user story, and the team will once the team understands everything. Once the team understands everything, the team will say, "Hey, it takes one day, one story point." It's called a story point. Why story point? I'll tell you later. But it's called as story point. For now, consider 1 = 1 day, 3 = 3 days, 5 days, 2 days, 8 days. Assume. Okay.
Okay.
Now, after understanding everything, the team will say, "Hey, it requires 1 day." Then you'll say, "Now the user story is partially groomed," meaning the team has understood the user story. It's matured. It's matured with all the details, and the team has understood. So we know the estimate also. So we'll push it to partially groomed matured backlog. Then you pick the next item, discuss again end to end all these things, and then push it to partially groomed matured backlog. Take the next item, discuss, take the item, next item, discuss. That's how it happens until maybe 1 hour or 1.5 hours, and they have one more session. Again, discuss few items. How many ever sessions you want, you tell the Scrum Master. The Scrum Master should be able to schedule it. So you have those sessions and make sure you're grooming the team about the stories. Okay, so far so good.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, now so the input for the grooming session is ungroomed or fresh young backlog. The output is partially groomed matured backlog. Why are we calling it as matured? Because it has details. you know it has details and the team understands it. That's the reason it's called as matured backlog. Now, what are the advantages of having this partially groomed matured backlog? The advantages or benefits is it increases efficiency of the team because the team understands everything. They can plan better and ultimately increases efficiency of the team. It increases estimation accuracy. Obviously, you can estimate better when you understand better. Otherwise, how will you estimate? Right? Effective sprint planning. Your sprint planning session, which happens on the first day of the sprint, will be more effective because you are able to understand things. Mature user story is mature with all the details. Healthy backlog. Your product backlog is healthy because you have a mix of groomed stories and ungroomed stories. It's healthy. Okay. If nothing is all the details is with you and nothing is passed on to the team, then it's not good. It's not healthy. So something has to be passed on to the team and it should be, estimated. So that's when we say it's a healthy backlog. Defined dependencies, any dependencies that are there, we have identified here and we have defined those dependencies. Same case with risks. Any risks that are there, we have identified and defined it. Elaborate acceptance criteria. Whatever acceptance criteria that's there for the user stories, we have elaborated it. What is acceptance criteria? I'll come to it, but at a brief, Acceptance criteria is the criteria you as a business analyst you will define, saying that, hey, look, I'm defining this criteria. Only if you are meeting this criteria, I will accept the story. Otherwise, I will not accept the story as done. That is acceptance criteria. Like for example, take this, create username and password. The acceptance criteria that I will be defined saying is, when a new user comes, the user should be able to create username and create password successfully with all the conditions I have mentioned. That is minimum of 6 characters, maximum of 10 characters, all those things. With all the conditions that I have mentioned, and show appropriate error message when the conditions are not met. If all these are taken care, I will accept the story. Otherwise, I will not accept the story. That is acceptance criteria. Okay. And small stories. Yeah, the user stories should be as small as possible, which we already discussed here. This is all what happens in grooming session. Any questions?
What is matured backlog?
Matured backlog is when the user stories or requirements has all the details that is required, and the development team also understands those things.
Okay, means
Uh,
we have all the
Meaning,
things
the
which we need.
user stories or requirements are complete with all the details.
Okay,
It's complete with all the details and understood by the team. That's
okay,
matured
got you.
backlog.
Okay, got you.
Okay. Any other questions?
No
No.
question.
I'm good, Rajiv.
Okay, fine. Sure, then we'll move on. So this is grooming session. Next is we have something called as sprint planning session, which I told this happens on the first day of the sprint. First day of the sprint, right? Now, what happens in this planning session? In this planning session, by the way, I told it can be for 2 week sprint. No, it can go maximum until 4 hours, but depending on the team maturity, you can close it in 1 hour also. There is no hard and fast rule that you have to sit for 4 hours. Okay. So now what happens here? Now you as a product owner, you will get the product backlog. What are the inputs for this meeting? You will get the product backlog. You will get the product backlog to the meeting. Okay. And then Scrum Master will identify capacity or velocity of the team. Capacity or velocity of the team. Now what is capacity or what is velocity? Capacity is nothing but what is the capacity of work that the team can take? What is the capacity of work that the team can take? Velocity is what does history say? History say about the capacity that the team was able to take. I'll explain this more. I'll take this. So this sprints, it keeps going on after first sprint, second sprint, third sprint, fourth sprint, right? So assume in sprint one, let's take like this. Your team sizes, you have 8 developers. Okay, you have 8 developers, and 2 week sprint has 10 working days. Right? Working days is 10. 2 week sprint has 10 working days. Okay. Keeping this in mind, sprint one, the team was able to take work worth 40 story points. What is this 40 story points? If you ask me, this number that I told here is it's one story point, like one day.
Mhm.
So like this will give. That's called as story points. For now, you can keep in mind as 40 days also. Okay, work worth 40 story points. Okay, sprint two, the team was able to take work worth uh, 38 story points. Maybe because few people had vacation plans, so that's the reason. Sprint three, team was able to take 37 story points. Includes there was one holiday, public holiday. Sprint 4, maybe the team was able to take 45 story points because there was no holidays and the team was also fully available. Now assume you want to figure out how much can the team take up in the fifth sprint. Then what you do is you will take an average of this and say average is 40 here. You say, hey, our velocity of the team is 40. As per history, our velocity of the team is 40. So what is velocity now? Velocity is the average of the previous few sprints, average story points of the previous few sprints.
Means
We
40
say our
days
velocity, 40 story points. Consider it as 40 story points.
story points. Okay.
Yeah. So for average, our average, we basically what I'm trying to say is, as a team, we can complete 40 story points worth of work in that 10 days as a team.
Okay.
Confusing?
No, got you.
Rajiv, can you explain the story point? I mean, you did before, but just regarding this, what you're explaining
Mm,
right now. So, what
mm.
is one story point?
One story point is the effort needed to complete that story is one.
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 Okay.
Okay. If
One
it is
one
two,
task. You mean one task, like
no,
one
one
specific
story point. One story point you can consider it as one day for reference
one.
for now. Yeah.
Okay.
For you, for your reference in the mind, if it's confusing, you can say, okay, one story point is one day, two story points is 2 days.
Okay, not the task, right? Like, for example, you gave example for that username and password and stuff. That's not the one
That is the
story.
story. That is the story. That can be
O-
one story pointer, or that can be three story pointer, whatever it is.
Okay.
I'm telling for that itself. Yes.
Okay. No, now
Confusing?
you are explaining in a days. That's why I'm asking. Like, it's a
Ah,
task or it's days.
mm, no. What I'm trying to say is to complete the task of username and password. Okay. To
Okay.
complete the task of the username and password, I need 3 days. I need 2 days.
Okay.
That two, three, I'm saying it's the story points.
Okay.
This is story. These numbers are story points. Every story will have a story point.
Okay.
So does each story point has a time value?
Time value, actually, let me come to this. Where is it? Where is it? Hmm. This is how story points are calculated. Actually, it's little complicated. I did not want to confuse at this point. That's the
Mhm.
reason I kept it for the last. It has you take three parameters in mind. How much do I know about the story based on the knowledge, and are there any dependencies for the story, and how much time will it consume? Keeping these three parameters in mind, we
Okay.
will come up with the story points.
Okay.
So for now, for simplicity
Mhm.
purpose, I was saying consider one as one day, two as 2 days, three as 3 days.
Okay.
Basically, I'm taking only this for now. These
Okay.
two also has to be considered.
Stories means requirement, correct? It's continuing,
Yes,
right? Okay.
yes. User story means requirements. Correct.
Requirements. Okay.
Yes, correct. The requirements which are written in the form of stories, meaning you're creating a story, keeping user in mind. Keeping user in mind, you are creating a story. No,
Okay. Means what
why do we
what
do
are their requirements? What are
correct? Why are you doing
okay.
that? So that you think like a user while developing. You think like
Okay.
a user while writing the requirements. That's the reason you call it as user stories.
Okay.
Okay. By any chance, did this clear your query?
And
No.
users means customer, right?
User means end user, not the customer. Users means end user. You, like for example, in this case, uh, your customer can be different. Your customer can be like, assume you are building a software for British Telecom. Your customer is British Telecom, but the end user is maybe you who is using the British
General
Telecom network.
yes.
Two different things. User and customer is different.
Okay.
Customer is
User
someone
means
who
who
is
are gonna
paying you
use
the
it.
money. Yes, customer will be
Okay.
paying you to do it.
And
User is
users
will
are
be
the one
using.
who was gonna use it.
Yes, correct.
Okay, got you.
Okay. Any other questions? I mean, is it clear or confusing?
Pretty much, yeah. But only just confusion with the task and a day. That's why you converted the task like requirements in a day. So that's the confusion. That's all.
I
But
understand. I
we will
understand.
figure out as it goes. It will figure out, I guess.
Correct. Yeah.
Yeah,
We'll do that. Yeah. It would be
yeah.
easier. Yeah, as we
Mm,
progress. Now, coming back to this slide.
mm.
This one. Yeah. What I was trying to say is for sprint one, the capacity, this 40 is capacity, by the way. Okay. For sprint one, we had a capacity of 40. For sprint two, we had a capacity of 38. 3, 37, 4, 45. Now, keeping this capacity in mind, we have to derive the velocity. What is velocity? Velocity is the average capacity of the previous three to four sprints. We see the average is 40 here. So if the management asks, hey, what is the velocity of your team? Then your answer is, the velocity of my team is 40, which means at any point in time, my team can take, work worth 40 story points at least on average. That is my velocity. Why do you need velocity? You need velocity to take this as a reference point
Give them a
and derive
task.
your capacity. Yeah.
Got it.
So at any time, my team can take 40 story points. It can be plus or minus 3 or 4. That's okay. Based on the vacations, holidays, and everything, it can be plus or minus 3 or 4. But on average, around 40 story points, the team will be able to take. That's the intention. So the Scrum Master will derive this capacity and velocity. You need not worry about this. This is Scrum Master's job. Capacity and velocity will be derived. And then the product owner, you as a product owner, you will give the current product status, saying that, hey, where are we in terms of product? Like maybe, okay, maybe, okay, the registration is complete, the login is complete. Now we need to focus on other features, maybe reels, profile setup, and other things. So current product status would be provided by the product owner. How is the product doing? How are the stakeholders? Are the stakeholders happy with whatever we have developed so far? So such kind of updates would be provided by you, the product owner. And any constraints can be um, constraints can be like assume there is a planned server downtime in next few days, wherein for 3 hours everything will be down and the team cannot do any work. So, right, that's a constraint. So any such constraints would be highlighted here, or any other constraints like 3 to 4 team members will be in a training, will be in a training for 3 days for a couple of hours. That is a constraint. So any such things has to be brought up here so that we can plan accordingly. Okay. So we have the product backlog, velocity or capacity is defined. We know the current product status. If there are any constraints that is highlighted, these are all the inputs. Now we will move to sprint planning. What happens in sprint planning is whatever you have explained here already as a product owner, you revisit this partially grouped measured backlog. Here you will tell one by one, you will explain the team what has to be done at a high level. You will not go in detail like this. You will not go in detail like this because in detail already you have discussed. So you will explain at a high level what has to be done for each requirement or user story. Then the development team will figure out how to do it. You don't worry about how to do it. Let them worry about how to do it. Okay. Let them worry about how to do it. Once they figure out how to do it, then they will accept saying that, okay, we will do that. Okay. This will be taken. Then when they accept that this can be done, then that will go to your sprint backlog. You started off with product backlog. That item is understood by the team. The team picks up that item. That moves to the sprint backlog. Take the next item. You tell what has to be done. Team picks it up. Once they understand, goes to the sprint backlog. So that cycle repeats. Take the third
Yeah,
item. Yeah,
Raju,
go
sorry
ahead.
to interrupt.
Yeah.
So we begin the task, we deliver, and once it's about to be done, then we have to check with the sprint backlog, right? That the work has been, what delivered has been, I mean, the work is ready or not, the task is ready or not, or the project.
We are still planning here. We are not implementing. We are not doing it.
Okay, okay. We have not reached that stage
Uh,
yet, right?
we we
Okay.
are we are what is sprint backlog? In sprint backlog, we are saying that what are we planning to do in this sprint?
Okay.
We are still planning what to do in this sprint.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah.
Hmm.
So like this, you will take your sprint backlog until you feel that the team is full, meaning the velocity. Once you reach the point where, hey, you know what, we have already taken 43 story points. We cannot take any more based on the vacations, holidays, and everything. We have already taken 43. No more stories. So we'll stop there. The product owner will not pick any more stories, and whatever stories that we have picked so far, that will be in a sprint backlog, and the team will be working on that. So far, so good.
Good, good.
Okay. So once you define the sprint backlog, then as a team, you'll all define sprint goal. What is sprint goal? Sprint goal is a brief summary of what we'll be doing in this sprint. What is the goal of this sprint? For example, if you have picked stories related to registration and login, maybe your goal will be, the goal of the sprint would be to complete the registration module for Instagram. So that is the goal. Now, in one sentence, people will get to know what the team is working on. That would be mainly for the management, right? So that is the goal of the sprint. So the input is product backlog, the output is sprint backlog, and the sprint goal. Questions?
No.
So all this is based on the basic requirements by the customer, right?
Correct.
All this
Customer,
planning. Yeah.
yes. From the customer, which flows to product backlog to the product owner, then flows to the development team, then taken for implementation.
Okay. So if during this process, if the customer is making any more changes, what happens?
Okay.
Is that
During this
allowed?
process, no. Once the sprint is started, we are not
Okay.
allowed to modify.
Okay.
Only product owner, business analyst, that is you, have the
Mm-hmm.
capability to cancel the sprint. But that is in extreme cases where the requirements completely
Okay.
changes, not for small things.
Not any additional requirements.
Correct, exactly.
Okay.
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 Any other questions?
So where agile come? You said in agile there is a very like adaptability. I mean, the change can be
Correct,
happen.
correct. But no, we are not doing this for 6 months, right? This is 2 weeks only.
2 weeks. Okay, okay. Short
Two
term.
weeks, yeah.
Yes. Beginning. Yes, yes,
Short term, yeah.
yes,
If we
yes, yes.
do, that changes every day, then it would be like 2 months,
Mhm.
right?
Understand.
So
Understand. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, 2 weeks, short cycle. Yeah,
2 weeks.
Yeah,
One sprint.
so we just need to ask customer whatever requirement they have, because after that it's not going to change it. We need to ask everything before, right?
correct, yeah.
Okay.
Requirements can change, but on a longer run, not within this 2 weeks.
Okay.
So you will be replanning, redoing your product backlog based on the changes that will become.
Okay, so they
And
can give their additional requirement after 2 weeks and we can use that.
yeah,
Okay.
possible, definitely.
Okay.
Okay, sure. Any other questions?
No.
No.
Okay, so then we'll stop here and we'll continue tomorrow.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks all.
Yeah. Thank
Yeah.
you.
Thank you.
Have a good night. Take care.
Yeah.
Bye.
You too. Thank you. Bye bye.